the fifth final of 5 final matches planned today. I'm Josh Monks, joined in the booth by Jordan Isaka. Jordan, how you doing?
Doing great, man. Ready to watch some legacy action.
Yeah, let's pull up the bracket really quick just to see where we've ended up today. We're going to be watching Bryant Cook and Pleasant Kenobi battling it out for the second seat of Group B after Michael Bonde took the first one. Jordan, what can you tell me about these decks? I think Bryant's on humans and Kenobi is on food chain.
Yeah, Brian Cook playing the other Storm variant. It's called Creature Storm, where you just play as many creatures as you possibly can. So that's pretty awesome. I'm sure his deck has somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 plus creatures and Aether Vials and such. And on the opposite side, you have kind of a creature-based combo deck, if you will. A deck that can play and win through combat, but also can go infinite and deal infinite damage, things like that. So a really interesting matchup. We're going to see two decks that are going to be relatively good at what they do, kind of a linear strategy from both sides, and we'll see how it matches up.
Definitely. All you really need to do to make this humans deck look like a storm deck is just make Dark Ritual, just use the right magnifying glass to make it look like an Aether Vial, or vice versa. Make this Aether Vial look like a Dark Ritual, accelerate over several turns, really allow you to take a tempo advantage over the opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. And right away, you can see that Brian Cook is playing no less than 35 creatures, which is quite astounding. But yeah, 4 Aether Vials and 21 lands. And we'll have to see if any of his creatures are disruptive enough to deal with the combo side of food.
Yeah, if we take a look over at Kenobi's deck, he's playing an actual combo deck with based around creatures. So this is a pretty fun deck based around food chain. Yeah, so in terms of decks lineup, I feel like the humans deck is a little bit good at getting underneath of this Bant food chain deck, but the Bant food chain deck is of course able to basically finish or find kills out of nowhere and just end opponent's life regardless of life total, regardless of creatures on board. So we'll definitely have to see how these guys play out.
Certainly. I think the other thing that's really important to note is the food chain deck, when it combos, it doesn't use any spells or anything like that. So it can combo through a Thalia without too much trouble, as long as it has enough mana to kind of start going. So we'll have to see what kind of disruption or what specific disruption Brian Cook has access to, and so we can stop the infinite cycle that President Kenobi is going to bring to the table.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I think we're ready on caster's end, at least for the match. But yeah, let's see. One of the things that I'm surprised of. Oh, it sounds like yeah. So one of the things that surprises me about this Bant food chain deck is I feel like a lot of things are audibling to the snow-covered mana base and using Prismatic Vista and Arkham's Astrolabe to kind of fix their mana base. But if you look at this list, it's actually not playing the Astrolabes or the Prismatic Vista. So it's really just using dual lands and then these snow-covered lands as really only combos with the Ice Quodal.
Yeah, he's actually, what he's doing is he's trying to trick his opponent by playing various forms of snow-covered lands. And then when his opponent plays Predict and tries to name Island, he's just going to flip over Snow-Covered Island, as the opponent's going to look like a dork. So,
got him. All right, well, it looks like we are ready for the match now. So let's go ahead and head down there and see these guys duke it out for real rather than just Darth. Yeah, so it looks like mulligans have already resolved, and it looks like Brian is on the play. Unclaimed territory into Aether Vial is basically the dream hand for this human.
Yeah, and that's going to be a quick no-sir from Pleasant Kenobi. Aether Vial is just such a strong advantage card early in the games for...
Definitely, yeah. Force of Will is really going to kind of even out how this game is going to play. Both decks are still pretty low to the ground, so we're going to have to see how these next couple plays turn out. Kenobi definitely has a Noble Hierarch to lead off on the play, and if he finds a second land, he's going to be able to accelerate out this food chain. And I mean, he's, I think, one mana away from a kill here, maybe two.
Yeah, assuming that he has access to a way to dump in that mana, he certainly has quite a big advantage in this position. But we'll see Kitesail Freebooter into the battlefield for Bryant, and the disruption has already...
Yeah, so this freebooter is going to take the food chain out of Pleasant Kenobi's hand. So now at least he's going to have to find some sort of answer to this Kitesail freebooter before he's able to assemble the combo and the kill, even though he's got the pieces in hand right now. He won't.
If Bryant took Eternal Scourge, could he have cast it from... Have you cast that?
You can't take Eternal Scourge with Kitesail Freebooter. It's
Oh, that's
non-creature.
right.
But
That's right.
if it was a Sin Collector or a Tide Hollow Sculler, then yes, you could. Those are definitely.
That is just crazy. That's so crazy. But alas, can't take a creature with Kitesail Freebooter. Do you remember when they spoiled Kitesail Freebooter and everyone's like, dude, there's a pirate deck out there somewhere?
Yeah,
I always think about that. I don't know why.
I remember the pirate deck for a while. That was a pretty funny joke. So it looks like Pleasant Kenobi does not find the land. He's going to fire off a Brainstorm here. Finds a Caracas and a Misty Rainforest. So he does have a shuffle effect, which is really, really important. Otherwise, getting Brainstorm locked here would have been really awkward with the missing land.
Yeah, he's also got that. Yeah, and then also having that that Miss Hall Griffin is just free value when he force wills next turn, which he potentially.
Yeah, Force of Will pitching Mist Hollow Griffin is a very fantastic feeling. It's second only to eating Mist Hollow Griffin with a Deathrite Shaman, I believe. We got Athalia's Lieutenant coming down. This will lead the forest. Mist Hollow Griffin in the exile zone, ready to be casted next turn. If Kenobi finds a land, which there is a Crocus on top, so I imagine that'll be coming out here pretty soon.
Yeah, I can't see any other option, and playing a 3/3 flyer is actually like quite good in some situations, especially versus a deck that's stumbling on. Oh, it looks like he ended up finding Trinket Mage instead. So
Oh, I didn't realize the order that he put it back in. Yeah, it looks like Trinket Mage was actually top with Caracas underneath. Trinket Mage will be able to tutor for, I'm assuming, Walking Ballista here is my guess.
interesting. Decides to go for the Eternal Scourge instead.
So yeah, it looks like Kenobi wants to say, you know what, I have a beatdown strategy here. I've got a 4-power creature with this Exalted trigger. Like, let's just go to town and see where we end up on the. Worth mentioning now that Mother of Runes comes down. Eternal Scourge is colorless. Mother of Runes is sadly inferior to Giver of Runes here. The colorless clause on Giver of Runes would be relevant.
Yeah, that's just really weird, and my brain is having trouble processing what's going on. I mean, right now we're seeing a kind of a mid-rangey combo deck sort of outvalue or out creature the mono creatures deck. So, I mean, this Knight of Autumn is going to be huge.
I wonder if we're going to see this on Disenchant or not. It's this Aether Vial is pretty late into the game, so it's not really as terrifying as the turn 1 Vial we saw. It looks like Kenobi is going to go ahead and attack it. Does want to stop the humans deck from being able to accelerate here in a few turns.
You know what's kind of insane is that this Trinket Mage, when it goes and gets Ballista, like Ballista is just like an infinite. Like he just murders Bryant Cook's deck. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of 1 toughness creatures in Cook's deck. That being said, Kenobi does not have access to a lot of mana here. Not going to be able to make a very big Ballista. We probably are 3 lands away from it being really.
Yeah, that's certainly true. He's 1 land away from being able to start chaining those Griffins, and I kind of admit, I gotta believe that he's going to go ahead and slam that Trinket Mage now.
Yeah, so like Trinket Mage is coming down here. We'll see it go grab the Walking Ballista. Without 4th land, it's really not that exciting.
All right, Ballista the draw, or he got Ballista with the Trinket Mage. My bad.
Yep, I think that's the only target game 1 for Pleasant.
Yeah,
I
and it
don't think
looks
there's
like
any other targets game 1.
yeah, totally agree. I think we're gonna see Palace Jailer here, and I don't know if that really helps his board position, as currently he's losing the creature battle.
While he is losing the creature battle a little bit, this is certainly going to even up the board and draw a couple cards and really going to gain some equity off this Jailer's Monarch clause. And honestly, I feel like if Bryant can hold the Monarch for 3 or 4 turns, it'll be very rewarding for him in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing, oh my, is he going after Noble Hierarch? That crazy man.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the right target here. With Walking Ballista in hand for Pleasant Kenobi, 4 mana compared to 3 is a massive number. So this is really, Bryant is trying to protect himself from a top deck land.
Yeah, I really like that. It also cuts down the Exalted trigger. It cuts down the mana. I mean, it like it's kind of like a techie play, and I can certainly see the value in doing something like this. Although I would have attacked.
Looks like Kenobi is going to find the land here, so Bryant's idea there paid off huge for him. That would have been honestly probably the end of the game with the Monarch play otherwise.
Yeah, certainly, and the amount of storm crows or mist ravens that can come down into play is just astounding. So we'll have to see what the game plan is.
Definitely. And from Bryant's side of the board, it looks like he's going to be content using this Kitesail Freebooter to block all the non-colorless creatures that Kenobi has, and then just use Mother Runes to protect. That being said, Kenobi is still one land away from a really terrifying Walking Ballista.
Yeah, towards pumping his ballista up, being able to shoot down that freebooter, or just getting a couple nugs on the creatures in play. I mean, the issue right now, I believe, is Brian Cook really wants to play it with tempo and with advantage. And in this position, his deck is like kind of frail at defending versus some of the creatures that are being presented. I mean, his biggest creature in play is a 1/2, so that kind of speaks for what's going on right now.
Yeah, definitely. That being said, this Walking Ballista being a 1/1 compared to a 2/2 is a really big difference. It being a 2/2 here means that the backup Mother of Runes that Brian has wouldn't be enough to really protect the creature strategy against this more combo-oriented creature deck that just has bigger bodies.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I mean, Walking Ballista is just so powerful. I mean, he's got Walking Ballista and Eternal Scourge, which are like oddly, like strangely good versus the Mother Runes plan. So it's kind of a weird angle or a weird axis to be fighting on, but a good one at that.
Yeah, and I imagine that this Sanctum Prelate is going to be coming down on 3. I think there's also a potential equity on naming 1. Right now, the food chain is exiled due to the Kitesail Freebooter, but if that ever comes back, Brian Cooks wants to just be safe, be protected from it. No combo kill available, not even a top deck of a food chain here is enough. Here's the 4th land for Pleasant Kenobi. So he does have the option of actually pumping his Walking Ballista here or playing Misthollow Griffin, which are both pretty rock solid lines. Looks like he's going to wait till post-combat either way, which I think is the right strategy. We'll see where he goes.
Yeah, I mean, that Ballista is spelling all sorts of trouble for Bryant Cook. I mean, his whole team, his whole career is about to be destroyed. Oh my gosh, dude, look at that card.
Honestly, I feel like the Eternal Scourge here is a little bit more of a problem. Having 3 power and 3 toughness and being able to get through almost anything is pretty big against these kind of creature wars that we're seeing these decks kind of end up playing out in the long game, which is kind of interesting to see. All the stats on these cards are so relevant all of a sudden.
Oh my god, he plays main deck Meddling Mage. He's got the wrong art though. That makes me mad.
No Pakula this time, sadly.
Dude, that's the lady looking right or whatever. That's what that card's called. It's so dumb.
We'll see if Brian wants to play anything here. Because the Sanctum Prelate is stopping food chain by naming 3, you might get more value from playing this Meddling Mage on maybe a Brainstorm or something like that. Looks like we are going to make the decision.
The one thing I do want to say is currently this board state looks like something out of a limited game. I mean, look at the creatures in play. You're just kind of excited about a 3/3 flying for 4. You know, like Phantom Monster is really good.
Yeah, these are all great limited picks. I feel like you could draft all these pretty early, be rock solid. Mana base, little bit tells a different story.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, there's some cards that are doing weird things. I mean, he just played a 1/2. I think that's called a Bog Imp. Look it up, chat. Bog Imp. He played a black 1/2 flying for 2. I mean, Pleasant Kenobi, on the other hand, riding high with Phantom Monsters and Terrain Armadons. I mean, geez, he's got way more power in play than Bryant does. And everybody thought that humans were going to be the top of the food chain. Well, apparently that's not the case.
Yeah, apparently Griffins are the top of the food chain. Jace the Mind Sculptor is a gigantic top deck here for Kenobi. That's honestly that's a really big draw. I didn't realize he had that in the deck. That'll let him dig so far. Oh yeah, one Jace the Mind Sculptor and one Teferi Time Raveler for Kenobi. So, looks like we're gonna go with an uptick on the Walking Ballista though. That's what we're gonna spend 4 mana on here. Get this Mom off the table. I imagine that there's not really any other 1 toughness creatures besides the Noble Hierarch, so there might be equity in waiting to use the second charge of Walking Ballista until he can clear the way to get maybe the Kitesail Freebooter off the table.
Yeah, ballistas with legs greater than humans with legs. So there you go. That's we're seeing an attack with the. He's gonna go ahead and leave with the attack with the Eternal Scourge, and he's leaving all the other creatures back. I guess the power of the colorless creature really coming into play in this situation.
Yeah, Mom was still activated in response to the Walking Ballista, so still easy to block any of these creatures potentially. Looks like we're going to sacrifice another creature to the fire. Bryant really is just holding this Monarch as hard as he can. He does not want to give up the crown here. He is throwing creatures under the bus to make sure it's secure.
Yeah, I don't really see how humans can kind of come out of nowhere and win. So I almost like an alpha there. I think that would have been a pretty reasonable play, especially because the current power. I mean, the largest creature on Bryant's side is a 2/2 for 2. So it's like,
Yeah, the only thing about an Alpha Strike I'm a little bit worried about is that a Thalia's Lieutenant could be lethal here. And Bryant actually finds a tutor, so he's going to be able to find himself a Thalia's Lieutenant here if it was lethal, if there wasn't any blockers left back.
yeah, certainly. And I guess, if you look at his board state, Thalia's Lieutenant does add 4 power to the board. So that, I mean, certainly could tip the skills.
Yeah, we'll have to see what Bryant gets here. A few different options. I feel like Thalia's Lieutenant is an option. Orzhov Pontiff is another one for sure here. It's definitely one way to deal with this Walking Ballista. The Ballista will be able to ping in response, but still going to get it off the board, which is huge for Bryant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, based off of Pleasant Kenobi's previous turns or previous plays, it seemed like he was pretty interested in pinging with Walking Ballista. So I think that card, that draw was certainly powerful and getting Pontiff, very powerful in this situation.
Definitely. Pontiff also has a Haunt Clause that could be relevant here a little bit later. It's also worth mentioning that this is perfect mana. I love seeing this happen in decks that are not really respecting the I'm gonna spend 1 mana on turn 1, 2 on turn 2. Still have turns like this on turn 8 or 9 where they're using every single one of their mana in a turn. Just I don't know, it's so interesting for me to see a lot of the time.
Yes, certainly. Think if Orzhov Pontiff was green, though. Think about how great of a time we'd be having.
Looks like we are going to see some combat from Bryant's side of the board, getting in there with Sanctum Prelate, which, because the Mist Hollow Griffin is shrunk, this is a pretty reasonable attack. There's not really a profitable block here for Kenobi.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, because he's trading, the amount of damage he'd be trading or the mana cost to recast Miss Hologriffin, I think he's better just to go ahead and take the 2 and be on his merry way.
Yeah, definitely. And these Griffins are going to be here. Wow. Oh no. That's terrible news for Bryant. That is a huge top deck. Walking Ballista for 2 or Jace? What's the play?
If he goes with Ballista, he could probably kill his opponent. No, I don't think he can kill his opponent. He's going with Jace, though.
Yeah, so Jace here can bounce the freebooter, and that allows this Hologriffin to get through, guaranteed. And it looks like that's the line that Kenobi's going to take. I like this a lot. This is saying, I have lethal on board if you don't deal with my Mist Hologriffin. And also, I have lethal in if you don't deal with Food Chain. So this is asking 2 really, really difficult questions that neither one has a good answer, and both need to be answered for there to be a win. It's also worth mentioning that the Monarch has come to Kenobi, which means the Noble Hierarch is in business. That was a huge swing for Kenobi, and I imagine that's going to slam the door on this game. We'll have to see the next turn or 2, though.
Yeah, what's nice is even if he does lose Jace on the backswing, I mean, Bryant's put in such a difficult situation where he has to attack and kill the Jace. He has to defend his life total, and he has to defend versus the evasion of the Griffin. And even in the event where he does all 3 of those things and he deploys Freebooter to block, Pleasant Kenobi can just play Ballista on 2 and shoot down the freebooter. Brian Cook looking for help, and I think that's going to be the game.
Yeah, it looks like Preload's still on 3, but Meddling Mage is on Mist Hollow Griffin, so Food Chain is blocked, but a Jace bounce on the Sanctum Prelate will allow the combo to go off unstopped, or however you want to phrase that, because the Eternal Scourge will be able to generate infinite mana into the Walking
Yeah,
Beast.
certainly.
Looks like
he's coming at him, dude.
It's time for damage. I'm not sure where all these guys are going. I'm hoping our producer can hover just to show us the arrows. Yeah, it looks like we got, is it the squad at Jace or just 2 at Jace? Nope, everybody at Jace. It's a party. Really want to get this Jace off the table. This is definitely
You gotta
opening
love
to a
it,
pretty
man.
nasty counterattack.
I kind of hope Pleasant Kenobi just makes infinite mana and kills them with the Ballista anyways.
I'd like to see infinite mana into attack for lethal. That's one of my favorite ways to kill.
That would be pretty good, Josh. I would agree with that.
Sadly, no flash, so can't do it with damage on the stack.
All right, looks like we're going to second main, and Bryant's going to have to come up with some answers here.
It looks like Thalia and Freebooter coming down. Just some more bodies to get in the way. I don't know if it'll be enough.
I mean, technically, in his current situation, he's going to see the Ballista and concede, I think.
Brainstorm the draw into Swords of the Plowshares. So let's see, the Swords of the Plowshares allows the Mist Hollow Griffin to get through for lethal. I think that's game here.
No, doesn't he just play Ballista on 2 and blow up the freebooter and then attack for 3?
Yeah, I think the Swords of the Plowshares or the Ballista line works perfectly.
Yeah, he's also got Noble Hierarch. I wonder if Bryant's just like, I hope he doesn't see it. I hope he doesn't see
it. Looks like we're going to combat. All right, so this does mean that the Trinket Mage will get through and the Walking Ballista will be able to ping for lethal. So there's so many different ways to make sure that this combat step works in Kenobi's favor.
Oh, he gonna make infinite mana. Make infinite mana. Do it. No. Oh.
Just plays the Walking Ballista on 1.
And
that is lethal.
A ding.
So taking a quick look at their sideboards here while they sideboard, I imagine both of these players are pretty prepared for these matches. They've been watching pretty much the whole time. All right.
Yeah, some interesting cards coming in for Pleasant Kenobi. It looks like he's bringing in a Scavenging Ooze, and I think that has to be a Supreme Verdict, only because I don't know what else costs blue, white, 1. Looks like maybe another Knight of Autumn and some more crowd control cards potentially.
Yeah, definitely. Knight of Autumn, just a pretty wide tool. I think it answers cards like Aether Vial that we saw. It can also gain life in a pinch. It looks like Kenobi is thinking about forces to come out. Looks like he is going to make the decision. Forces and Jace, no dice today. Not how he's going to be winning this game. He's going to be a lot more focused on, looks like, I would say, is this trying to go all in on the combo and trying just to race?
Well, I think he kind of mid-ranged his opponent out that last game, so I think that that's kind of his plan going forward. And I have to say that he did a really good job in understanding that he was more powerful towards the mid game with his creature base. He had the 4-mana 3/3 flyer was quite good, and Knight of Autumn was quite good.
Yeah, definitely. That being said, I feel like Jace was also insane for him in that type of board state. If you can set up a board stall, Jace will just go miles for him.
Yeah,
looks like these players are hopping into game 2, so we will see Bryant Cook on the play this time. We'll see if that will lead to a play for this Aether Vial deck.
Oh, for sure. Looks like we were on the home side. Now we're on the away side. We've got Bryant Cook. We're looking at his side of the board. as he's playing humans with no Aether Vial, I would like to point.
Yeah, this is a 5-land hand without an Aether Vial. Not the most exciting. I would probably send this back. I feel like, yep, it's occurred. The 6 looks way better. So we
Oh,
got
that's a
2
nice
1-drops.
Yeah, this is just a beautiful hand from Bryant Cook. I mean, honestly, this is what you want to see 9 times out of 10. We've got a 1, 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock rock, and he's going to be going ahead and getting in with that Aether Vial early.
Definitely. So it looks like this was actually a second mulligan for Bryant. So he did keep a 5. It's a 1-lander, which means he's all in on this Aether Vial. Pleasant Kenobi did take out all his forces. So that's going to be nice. It looks like Kenobi is clicking on his coat just to make it look like he's got a blue card, or he's got a Force Will but no blue card. It's the brain game that he's playing there.
Oh, what a troll. There you go. Here we go. Aether Vial going up a tick as Moto is going to kindly remind you what's going on. And I believe it's going to be Champion the Parish and Mother of Ruins to get us.
Yeah, a 1-drop here is actually probably the best draw in his deck because it allows him to use 100% of his effective mana here. Whereas in future turns, that's not necessarily going to be the case. Next turn, if he draws a land, he's not really going to be able to utilize it because the Aether Vial will be able to put in Thalia.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're seeing some really nice. I mean, we're seeing like Brian Cook's going to go ahead and be able to make this Champion the Parish quite large, and Dahlia comes down to disrupt any potential plays coming from Pleasant Kenobi. So a good situation for Brian, I have to say, even on a mulligan to 5.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see how the Swords to Plowshares lines up with Bryant's deck. Bryant, I'm guessing, is going to flash in the Mother of Runes here, and it'll eat the Swords to Plowshares right away. Yep. There's a potential there that being patient and holding the Mother Runes might be smart, just in case of a potential Swords to Plowshares. But this is what we'll see here. It is worth mentioning that Brian is protecting himself from a turn 3 food chain line. So at least there's that.
Oh yeah. The one thing I will say that's nice about Brian's position is that he doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, he knows what he has to do. He's gonna have to play the cards that are in his hand, right? So I don't think that there are too many decisions from this part forward. He might have to figure out what he wants to put his prelate at. But aside from that, he's just gonna go ahead and be in jam mode. I gotta believe.
Yeah, definitely. Thalia on the play here, or like viling it in sorcery speed is pretty relevant. Gets an extra counter on the champion, and you want to tax any spells that could potentially be played. Whereas the Mother of Runes, you really want to put that in on your opponent's end step for the shock factor.
Absolutely, and you're trying to tie your opponent's mana up. Maybe he makes a decision where he's tapped out, and Aether Vial is just a freebie. You don't have to worry about losing any of your creatures or anything.
Yeah, so honestly, right now, Kenobi is just looking for a disenchant effect. Get this Aether Vial off the table, and Bryant's hand pretty much falls apart. Thalia's Lieutenant is a big draw here, but having only 1 land in the Vial on 3 means that this Lieutenant's in kind of the awkward middle space, probably not going to see any play until the top decked land.
Yeah, that being said, Brian Cook has access to 21 lands, so one's got to be coming, and hopefully he can just go ahead and hold the line with some of these creatures. But these Ice Fang Quaddles are just so good. I mean, he's going to get the cantrip, he's going to get blocked with Death Touch. Like, a lot of the power goes down the drain when he loses that champion.
Definitely. And we have another relevant keyword from a limited format affecting the gameplay. Thalia having first strike means that it pretty much always trumps these Baleful Strix, Lower Fangquotal effects. Champion of the Parish, not so lucky though. That one's going to be hitting the bin this turn.
Yeah, and if that prelate is not on
Whoa,
what's it called?
I guess not. I guess it
Oh,
will.
I think is that game? It could be close. It's game. He's got it.
Well, Sanctum Prelate's on 3, and Thalia is going
Oh,
to make
okay.
food chain cost 1 more.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, yeah. When I saw that, I was kind of curious about that.
I'm surprised that Kenobi didn't block with the Lower Fangquotal here. Looks like he's just going to play a second one. I might have also played the Mist Griffin there, but it looks like Kenobi's going to get rewarded heavily here. Swords of the Plowshares off the top means that spending 2 mana is enough to also get the spell through. That being said, Aether Vial's on 3. I could... Oh, looks like we're going up. I could see putting Aether Vial in on 1 here to potentially block from a Swords of the Plowshares line. But we're going up to 4 in case of a Palace Jailer draw.
Yeah, that was actually a really interesting spot. I kind of thought I thought that he could have Yeah, he should have put at least another 3 in, I think. I mean, he had one in hand, right? It might have been a misclick or something like that. That those things happen.
Yeah, I think that there is a little bit of a risk in vialing in the Sanctum Prelate in response to the vial trigger and then ticking up. I think ultimately it's probably best to wait. I'm not sure if it was a misclick or not. I'm guessing yes because Moto is how it goes.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah, we're gonna have
understand.
to see what this how this holds.
Yeah, and so we're seeing the removal of the prelate, and unfortunately, Brian Cook has the second one locked away, and we're gonna see food chain come down.
Yeah, definitely. Of course, with the prelate out of the way, this gets through, and I think that this will be infinite mana for Kenobi into Trinket Mage for eighth or for Walking Ballista, and then the Walking Ballista will go upstairs for lethal.
Yeah, I mean, we're really seeing the power of a card like Miss Hologriffin and the food chain interaction. Like this deck was really powerful and popular back when you could play it with Deathred Shaman. So it's kind of cool to see there another iteration of it coming through in Band instead of Bug.
Yeah, definitely. Ban adds the Lorfang Codal instead of the Black Splash, which adds Baleful Strix. So ultimately, I think that this allows for slightly better sideboard cards. I feel like white provides better creature answers while black provides better hand disruption answers, and kind of depending on the expected meta, these colors give you different equity points. And
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
this meta game specifically, I think the white splash paid off beautifully.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even the green deck has access to cards like Green Sun Zenith or like Night of the Reliquary. I mean, obviously, we got a chance to take a look at Pleasant Kenobi's deck, but we're just talking about the possibility of some of those cards coming into play for future games. And we're going to go ahead and see Pleasant Kenobi's going to just go ahead and tick it all the way up and deal 23 potentially to Brian Cook. So here's the combo in
Yeah.
action.
Yeah, we're at 14 mana right now, so that's 7 damage. This will take a few more clicks. I think that this combo usually people say is around 50. I haven't really done the math, so can't say I know for sure. Probably a little bit more because of the color definition on food chain.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some sort of like loop, auto yield, something or other. I mean, we're kind of seeing little flashes of Pleasant Kenobi's screen as he clicks through the combo here.
Yeah, it's been pretty straightforward with it so far. It seems like all of the clicks have taken about the same amount of time. So that's usually how I judge someone's comfort with a combo deck on Magic Online. Is if some clicks are really quick and then some of them take a really long time, it means they got to think about it as they do it. Looks like we are going to see the concession though. So that was the second game of the match. Actually, Kenobi is going to take that 2-0 over Bryant Cook. So yeah, welcome back to the booth, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I believe that we're going to go down, and I think Julian will be holding the final sign off. So yeah, that was an exciting fifth match. Thanks for letting us watch.